I borrowed Ethan to get back at my ex-boyfriend Todd, but he ended up becoming emotionally entangled with me. When I saw him interacting with a blonde woman at the bar, I was consumed by jealousy. In the office, he forcefully pulled me close and pressured me to give in, yet somehow, I found myself agreeing to meet him tonight. "Stop it," I blurted out, shoving him away just before I completely lost control. I turned around, my legs trembling, acutely aware that my clothes were already soaked with sweat. "Oh, Ellie, just look how long you can still resist your own body." Hearing him call my name sent the last shred of my self-control crumbling. "I told you to stop." I left him standing there and headed straight for the laundry room. He was so close to me, I simply couldn't think clearly anymore. What was wrong with me? He'd barely even touched me, yet I was already falling apart. I tried hard to steady my breathing. "Ellie, you can't do this. No matter how much you want it, it'll only end badly." I stared at the dryer, silently praying that it would hurry up and dry his clothes. I deliberately avoided thinking about the fact that he was still in the living room. He's definitely thinking I'm avoiding him. Well, to be honest, I am avoiding him. It seems that as long as he's around, I just can't keep my cool. It felt like an eternity before the dryer finally stopped. I picked up his clothes and headed back to the living room. Thank goodness, the heavy rain had already let up. He was sitting on the sofa, scrolling through his phone. "Here you go," I said, placing the clothes on the sofa. He looked up at me, stared intently, then stood up, picked up the clothes, and took a step closer to me. Instinctively, I took a step back. "No need to hide, Brown. I'm not going to force you, unless you ask for it yourself. Or maybe you just don't trust yourself. I'm just waiting for the dryer to finish. You can leave now." "You lost the bet. You know what that means, right? You're being unfair." "You've got the nerve to talk to me about fairness? You're not going to let me off the hook, are you?" He flashed a sly smile and turned to head for the bathroom. That look clearly said, "Of course not." A few minutes later, he emerged from the bathroom, wearing his own clothes. I was sitting on the sofa, watching him as he held a knitted hat in his hand and came to a stop in the middle of the room. "Why was your ex-boyfriend here?" he asked. "What? What did he come for? What did he want?" "That's none of your business. You could really say that if you hadn't Judong pounced on me last night. Answer me, Brown. I don't owe you any explanations, Morgan." He sighed, fell silent for a moment, then spoke again. "I'll send you my address." "What? Why?" "Just call me whenever you stop resisting and decide to give in to what your body is craving. I'll be waiting for you. All you have to do is knock on the door. You're out of your mind. Don't worry. I'm just as eager as you are." He turned and headed toward the door. "Don't make me wait too long, Miss Brown." With that, he turned the doorknob and walked out. After I'd finished recounting everything that had happened up until this morning, Anna was so stunned she couldn't close her mouth. It was already past 6 o'clock in the evening. I'd called her, desperate to share everything on my mind, and soon we found ourselves at a bar near her apartment. At least now, my head no longer felt like it was about to explode. "The craziest thing of all is that you actually gave in just to get rid of Todd." "It just doesn't make any sense," she said, taking another sip of her beer. "I never planned for things to turn out this way," I replied, taking a long swig of the red wine in my glass. Outside, the cold was biting, and we were bundled up in thick coats and scarves, sitting at a table in the corner of the bar. "Don't lie to me. We both know he's right, just as much as you do. It doesn't matter." "It doesn't matter? You just said yourself that maybe he's not as much of a jerk as you think he is. So, why don't you just give him a shot?" "Because I want more than just this." "More than just this?" "It's just basic adult physical needs, Ellie. Don't overcomplicate things. I don't want to be used. We've talked about this before." "All right then, just have a real talk. Clear the air before anything happens. There's no need to feel like you're being taken advantage of. This is just a consensual relationship between two adults, and sometimes you don't need to make it so complicated." "I can't believe you're actually advising me to do this." "Maybe he's exactly the jerk who's right for you." She winked mischievously and gave a sly smile. Oh, by the way, Zoe mentioned something I've got to tell you, but only she can really explain it properly. What's going on? Apparently, Ethan used to have a fiancée.
A fiancé? A fiancé?
I asked in disbelief. Yeah, I heard they broke up right before the wedding. Oh my God. He almost got married? Nothing could shock me more than that. Why did they break up? I don't know for sure. But Zoe managed to get it out of Bennett. Ethan took a really long time to get over her. It seems he was really deeply in love with her, and after the breakup, he just fell apart. That sounds awful. No wonder he's reluctant to talk about it. Now I feel like such an idiot. Maybe all along, it was me who'd been acting unreasonable. Don't start feeling sorry for him, thinking of him as some poor, heartbroken guy while you're somehow the villain in the story. Everyone has had tough times in their lives. Don't forget all those rumors about him in London. He's definitely not some angel. Come on, Anna. I'm not exactly going to run over to his apartment to comfort him. But you really should go. Anna, after everything you've told me about how he makes you feel, I just don't get why you're resisting so hard. Any other woman would have already invited him inside. Heck, they might have even crossed the line with him in the car, or even in the restaurant bathroom. Have you forgotten? He's only doing this because I turned him down, and now he's determined to make me give in. To him, it's all just a game. Who cares? If you want to be with him, then just do it. It doesn't matter who caves first in the end. I really can't understand why the two of you are making such a big deal out of this. You don't want me to use you and Will as an example, do you? All right. I'm not forcing you. Make your own decision. I felt both frustrated and confused. There was no doubt that I wanted him, but I also knew it wouldn't be wise to get involved with him. Equally clear was the fact that Mr. Morgan wanted nothing more than to sleep with me. That's exactly what I'd been trying to avoid all along, getting intimate with someone who didn't share any real emotional connection. Yet no matter how many times I repeated this to myself in my mind, my body just couldn't resist his allure. What I really craved was a genuine emotional relationship, and if I decided to give in to my desires, I'd have to make an exception for this purely physical attraction. But what if he wasn't as awful as I'd always thought? Maybe I wasn't really breaking my promise to never get involved with guys like that after all. Maybe I should just admit that he'd stirred up a long-forgotten spark within me. I can't believe I'm actually considering this. Don't look, your perfect jerk just walked in, Anna said suddenly, snapping me back to reality. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Mr. Morgan entering the bar, accompanied by a man who wasn't one of our mutual friends. Do you know the guy he's with? I asked quietly, shrinking slightly in my seat. You probably don't know him. What's wrong? Are you jealous? She teased. Haha, how funny. Let's go. I don't want him to see me. Why not? Maybe this is the perfect chance for a quick little makeout session in the bathroom. I'm serious, Anna. Let's just leave.
Fine.
But first, I've got to hit the restroom. Oh, come on. Relax. You're not going to get spotted by him, she said, rising from the seat opposite me. I'll be right back. I picked up my glass and used it to partially hide my face. When I looked at him again, he was already sitting near the bar. He was wearing a black overcoat, gloves, and his hair was impeccably styled, completely different from the man who'd shown up soaking wet in my apartment this morning. Every time I see his hair so neatly combed, I can't help but want to mess it up, to feel the strands twining around my fingertips and gently tugging against my skin. Suddenly, a blonde woman walked up to his table, interrupting my reverie. He stood up and greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. At that moment, his expression seemed slightly uncomfortable. My attention immediately shifted to the blonde woman. She was stunning, radiant with a warm smile, dressed in a black dress paired with tight-fitting pants and stiletto heels. Her figure was model-perfect, petite chest, long, slender legs, and almost no curve in her hips. We're completely different types. Are they really close? Why do I even care? Maybe it's because I'm thinking about getting intimate with him, so it's only natural that I'd feel this way. When she reached out and touched his arm, my suspicion was confirmed. Her gesture was anything but the casual touch between ordinary friends. Perhaps that gentle caress was just a little too suggestive. I struggled to keep the rising anger at bay. Stop being ridiculous, Ellie. You have no right to feel this way. As soon as Anna came back from the restroom, I grabbed her arm and dragged her out of the bar. Who is she? She asked as soon as we were outside. How would I know? Ellie, from the sympathetic look in her eyes, I could tell exactly what she was about to say. Don't say a word. I can't believe I even considered having sex with that jerk. Just thinking about what he did to me this morning makes me feel sick. She took a step closer, reached out, and put her arm around my shoulder. Together, we waited for the taxi. You're right, she said. You could find someone better, someone who's not such a jerk. The next day, I went through every single thing I did with seething anger, from the moment I got up and headed to the gym all the way to driving to work. Even a strong, dark cup of coffee couldn't lift my mood. And then, after receiving those flowers, things got even worse. Apparently, Todd thought sending me flowers would somehow make me hate him just a little less, but instead, it had the opposite effect. I clenched the card tightly in my hand, then let it drop onto the floor. The card read, "Everything is worth starting over. All I need is a chance to do better." Jerk. He can go to hell. Just seeing Ethan Morgan's name in the morning email was bad enough. I left the flowers on the desk, grabbed my white coat, and headed toward the lab. I'd do what I always did. Focus on work and forget about everything else. I skipped lunch altogether, only leaving the lab when my intern and assistant, Eve, showed up and told me Mr. Morgan was waiting for me in my office. As I made my way back to the office, I silently prayed it would be Bennett Morgan. But I wasn't that lucky. By the time I stepped into the office, he was already sitting in the chair across from my desk, staring at the bouquet of flowers. Why hadn't I just thrown those flowers away? He was wearing a suit as usual. Good afternoon, Mr. Morgan, I said, closing the door behind me and taking a few steps toward my desk. I didn't sit down. Instead, I stood beside the chair, arms crossed. Good afternoon, he replied, his thumb gently stroking his lower lip. The flowers are beautiful. I remember I already replied to your email this morning. What brings you here? Ignoring his remark, I maintained a firm, professional demeanor. It's precisely about work. The report you sent me differs from the one Alice submitted. May I take a look? Of course. He opened his black leather briefcase and pulled out some documents. Here you go, he said, placing the papers on the edge of my desk. I stepped closer to get a better view. In the long-term investment section, it's lower than the operating expenses. See that, he pointed out with his finger. I leaned in even closer to examine the numbers. Indeed, there was a slight discrepancy in the figures, perhaps just a typo. Just as I was about to respond, I suddenly felt his hand resting lightly behind my knee, and my whole body froze instantly. I can't move a muscle. My heart is racing, and his palm slowly slides upward. I close my eyes tight, and a shiver runs down my spine, leaving an uncontainable longing deep within me. His hand dangerously creeps toward the inside of my thigh, sliding upward along the hem of my skirt. Let me stop, Ellie, he whispers in a low, husky voice that seems to come from the very depths of his throat. His fingertips are getting closer and closer to my underwear, just a little more, and he'll realize I've already lost all control. I keep my eyes shut, my body consumed by desire, yearning for his touch. Just a bit closer. I waited for you all night last night, he murmurs, bringing to mind last night's scene at the bar, reminding me of that blonde woman.
Damn it.
I open my eyes and glare at him with fury. Take your hands off me, you lying bastard. I growled through clenched teeth. I stood up, took a step back, and fought the urge to slap him right in the face. Why am I a liar? He asked, frowning and rising to his feet, looking utterly confused. Just leave. We handle all work-related matters via email. Answer me. Why am I a liar? He stepped closer, pressing the question. I was at that bar last night. So tell me, were you waiting for me before or after you'd been hanging out with that blonde woman? I knew I sounded ridiculous. I had no right to be angry, but I just couldn't help myself. I didn't see you there, but nothing happened between me and her. I came home alone last night. That's none of my business. Just do me a favor and get out of here already. If it really has nothing to do with you, and you don't care at all, then why are you so upset? I don't care what you do with other people, as long as you keep your filthy hands off me. I've already told you, nothing happened between us last night. It was you who made me lose control at work. What more do you need to understand that I want you? I'm not playing your game. There's no game. It's just you and me, doing exactly what we both desire. Enough. I don't trust you. What can I do to earn your trust? There's nothing you can do. He sighed heavily, then took another step closer. You can't resist me anymore. He cupped my face in both hands. It'll just be a little intimacy, nothing more. I promise you won't regret it. His thumb gently traced along my lower lip. I'm not playing you, Ellie. I never intended to. Believe me. Believe you? He was standing so close to me. His lips were right there in front of me, and I could hardly focus my thoughts. Up until now, I've never lied to you, have I? I'm serious. Really? Then tell me, you didn't do anything with that woman, did you? I didn't, not last night. Last night? That meant they'd been involved before? So you've been with her before? I knew it wasn't any of my business, that I had no right to ask, but I asked anyway. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes. Hearing him admit something I'd already suspected made me feel uneasy, but at least it proved he was being honest. I pushed his hand away and crossed my arms again. Was it a long time ago? Ally, you're going way too far. Is this really that important? I just want to know, when was the last time you had intimate relations with someone else? Yes, I really need to know. He took a deep breath, rubbed his forehead with his fingers, and clearly looked tense. Thursday, he admitted, just recently. I'm not sure what I'd been expecting. Unlike me, maybe he couldn't stand even a few days without intimacy, let alone over a year. What about you? He asked, throwing me into a sudden panic. Let's not talk about this. Oh, now you don't want to talk about it? It's been so long already, okay? So long, way too long. It's been so long that even bringing it up feels awkward. So long. Let me guess, about a month? Stop talking about it. I wrinkled my nose and said, 2 months. He clearly wasn't about to give up that easily. Try multiplying by 6, he suggested. A year? He blinked, his face a picture of shock and disbelief. Maybe even a bit longer, I admitted, feeling utterly mortified. He fell silent for a moment, lost in thought. Why? He asked, his voice tinged with confusion, as if it were simply inconceivable that they hadn't been intimate for so long. I'd rather not talk about this. You've probably never met many men who'd actually reach out again the next day, have you? Enough already. I'm serious. If we're going to do this, I'd like us both to be completely honest with each other. Are you suggesting we have an intimate relationship, or are you trying to psychoanalyze me? Fine. He gave in, raising his hands in surrender. If you don't want to talk about it, then fine. Don't say a word. But at least before anything happens, we could just be friends for now. Friends don't get intimate. So stop even thinking about being friends. That means you. I haven't decided yet. He looked somewhat frustrated, then reached out again to cup my face. You've been keeping me up at night. All I can think about is you lying on my bed. I just can't fall asleep. I can't even focus on work because half the time I'm just fantasizing about you.
I want this torment to end.
Please, stop torturing me, Ellie. He confessed, his gaze locked onto my lips, his expression filled with anguish. I'll be waiting for you tonight. I'll think about it, I said reluctantly. He took a deep breath, pushed away the arms I'd wrapped around my chest, and pressed his forehead against mine. This sudden closeness made it hard for me to breathe, and my mind went completely blank. This isn't the answer I wanted to hear, he murmured, his chest pressed tightly against mine. You said you'd come. He was so close to me that my body seemed to want to obey every single one of his commands. Before I knew it, I gave a gentle nod. He smiled, then leaned in close to my ear, sending a shiver through my entire body. You know exactly where to find me, he whispered, then took a step back. I watched as he packed up his things and left my office. Only when I finally managed to breathe normally and clear my thoughts did I realize what I'd just done. I'd agreed to go to his place tonight to have an intimate encounter with him. Oh my God,